everyone, welcome back. Hope you're all good. So yeah, I'm just gonna go straight in. Today's video is entitled "Sorry God, we're just not on that level." Sounds a bit rude, but once I get through the video and the content, I think you'll understand more where I'm coming from. So yeah, let's get started. I don't want anyone to be put off by this video because of the title. Like, at the end of the day, I am a Christian, this is my faith, and I feel like it's very important for me to put this message across because I'm sure that there are hundreds of people who are also feeling the same way. So I always feel like I can't do anything because I'm not on a certain level with God. So I couldn't start this YouTube channel for ages because I wasn't on this level with God. Ask me what this level is, I don't know. I couldn't give people godly advice because I wasn't on this level with God. I couldn't give people normal advice, whatever that may be, because I wasn't on a certain level with God. This whole mentality has been the biggest enemy of all my progress, like the biggest. I've never really been one to compare myself to other people. For me, it's always been conditioned in my mind, especially because of my mum. She's always just implemented in this, me, love you mummy. You don't need to compare yourself to other people. God really took his time creating you, like every little intricate part of you. He put you together so you could be placed on this earth and be different from everyone else. He wanted you to be unique. He didn't want you to be like Jack and Jill or Tom, Dick and Harry. Like, he put you here to be yourself. So why compare yourself to anyone else? Because it's a waste of time. Like, you weren't made to be like the next person. But the more I thought about like my walk with God and like my spiritual level, I realized that a lot of the time, one thing I was comparing myself to others with was my walk with God. I compared my walk with God to other people's. When I was speaking to my friends about it, my family, like this was probably, I realized that that was probably the root cause. So because of this, I'd get so frustrated at myself with my walk with God, like to the point where I'd shut him out. And I'm sure so many people can relate. Like you stop reading the Bible, you just don't want to know, like you love him, but you're just like, dude, like this isn't really working out for me and I feel like you're not there. I just call God dude. Okay. I let the voice in my head tell me like, what's the point in continuing or even trying? Because let's be honest, when you read the Bible, you can't remember the Bible verses 10 seconds later like everyone else can. You can't, what's the point? Because you can't get deep messages from these verses like everyone else can. Or I'll say, what's the point? Because in a few days, in a week's time, you're just going to go back to square one where you're just going to be shutting them out again. And this was that little voice in my head, which I think all of us have. Truthfully, it could just be the devil just trying to like pull you away. I think this whole I'm not on a certain level got to me so much that I feel like I stepped out on a church that I absolutely loved. Like I stepped out on a church that like I found reasons why I was yearning so much for a relationship with God. I always knew I wanted a relationship with God, but I'd never really had such a close encounter until I went to this church and their conference, and that was just amazing. This whole I'm not on a level with you thing made me step out on a connect group that I adored. Like I don't think they know how much I loved going. Like it helped me so much, helped me to grow as a person and surround myself with like-minded people. But for me, I felt like a failure in an environment where I felt like so many people were excelling in their walk with God, and I'd just look at them and be like, wow, like you're all just so amazing, and I just wasn't going anywhere. So I just pulled myself away. That is something I would advise no one to do. No one. Because those people that you surround yourself with will help you grow. You can switch off from God for so long that you start to forget how to go back. And the more you switch off and the more that you walk away, the harder it is for you to go back. If you are in this phase, I think, and you like, it's difficult. It's very difficult to like immediately just jump straight back in and go to your Bible. You feel all this guilt, you feel all this shame. So if you are in this phase, I'd say things you could do would be like to read like books about faith. I have one, it's called Crazy Love by Francis Chan. That book is awesome. Like he's so simple in the way that he talks to you about your faith and your walk, and it can really just reignite that fire inside you to go back to God. Another thing would be sermons. Watching sermons can just sometimes again reignite that fire inside you to go back to him. And once that fire is reignited, like just keep it ignited. Try not to let it burn out. And easier said than done, but force it. I feel like when you do the things that I'm talking about, like don't feel like because you're not reading the Bible in that point in time that you're completely shutting yourself out. Like you are still getting the word of God, just from like different perspectives, and like, you know, just like different avenues, angles that are trying to help you to build up, because at the end of the day, the word is the most important thing. That's where you'll get your fuel from. That's where you get your petrol, your diesel. That's what keeps your car going. So in all of that, I'd like to say it's hard to know whether like the things I'm telling you are right. It's hard to know whether these are the right things to do. What I can say is that God always knows your heart. So I think in all of that, if you do feel like, you know, you feel guilty for not being like in the word at this point in time in your life, I would say that God always knows your heart. Like, even if you haven't expressed to him what's on it, he always knows your heart. He knows you're imperfect, and he doesn't dispute that fact, but he also doesn't disregard you or leave you because of that fact. So don't worry about like the times that you may doubt him or sometimes feel like you don't feel close to him. He knows you're imperfect. He knows you're gonna have slip-ups. He knows it's a roller coaster journey. So don't feel like you're a failure, you can't go back to him, or you haven't given your life to Christ because you go through this phase. Don't let anyone make you feel that kind of way. I don't think you can say that you haven't given your life to Christ if you weren't so desperate and so emotionally invested in creating a relationship and building a relationship with him that you aspire to be perfect in. So whether it's like 10 months, 2 weeks, 5 years, like, I think the time doesn't matter. What's important to him is that you don't give up, and what should be important to you is that you don't give up. There's a Bible verse that says, and watch how I'm not going to be able to find this Bible verse now. Why are you doing this to me? Philippians chapter 3 verse 12 and 16. It said, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead, but we must hold on to the progress we have already made. So it's kind of like, forget the things that troubled you and hold you back from being on this so-called level with God, but do take time to look back from where you came from. So that's why I think journaling is quite a good thing. It's a very good thing, in fact. You write all the things that you feel emotional about in that time, and you write all the things that you pray about in that time. And when you're like in this moment where you're just like, oh, I don't really know what's happening to me right now, I don't know where God is, blah, blah, go back and read your journal, because you see the things that you prayed for and like how far you've come from there and how many prayers he actually answered that you didn't even acknowledge. Like, sometimes you can make a prayer, even forget that you made that prayer, but he remembered and he listened. He's made that change in your life and you haven't even noticed. But also hold on to the progress. Hold on to the progress that you've made, so it will help you to push forward. I think with God, you have to think of it as a relationship with like literally like a person. Like, you're now beginning to do things as a duo rather than on your own. It's all to do with like open up about your struggles, or even like simple things, just like asking for help. And I can understand where the difficulty in this comes, because, you know, at least if you're in a relationship with a person, or like a friendship or whatever, that person is tangible. Like, you can hug them, you can, wow, there's someone here. Sarah, KP, where are you? You can hug them, you know, you can cuddle them, you can talk to them, they can give you feedback immediately. With God, he's intangible, and I mean that in the non-religious way possible. Like, he's not, you can't grab him, like, or her, or whatever, you know, you just can't. So it's very difficult to create and build a relationship with a person who isn't tangible. That's why I think journaling and just looking back at your life and your progress and your prayers and where you've come to is so important, because that helps you to realize, no, there really is someone there for me, and it enables you to kind of fathom the idea that there is like a higher being, and that will help you to kind of give him your heart wholeheartedly, or your life wholeheartedly. So yeah. One thing you have to remember, though, it is difficult at first, but it's never impossible. People around you have done it. That's the only reason I say look to other people, because you can notice around you that people have testimonies, and you can see how much he's helped them, so don't doubt his existence. A Bible that I read is Life Application. It's a teen version, which I think is awesome. I am no longer going to be a teen in the next couple of weeks, but I will still always go back to this Bible. And anyway, one of the side notes was, the best way to stop a snowball is at the top of the hill, before it's too big or moving too fast to control. Even though in the Bible it wasn't really relating to what we're talking about, but I think it still applies. I think the way it applies is such that the more you push him away, the more you kind of leave things to linger, the more you don't go back to your Bible, the more you don't engage in conversation with him, the bigger that snowball gets. The more it festers and the harder it becomes, if it just basically becomes out of control, and you can no longer bring yourself back to him as easily as you could before. So that's just something you need to bear in mind, like when you are kind of replacing your word or normal procedures that you take to build a relationship with God with other things. Remember, yeah, like those things are there to help you, but don't let it fester too long. I'm not saying rush it, but do be persistent and just try to get back to that normality, so it doesn't become too out of control and you don't like fall through an avalanche. Or let's think positive thoughts, Justin. Yeah. Another point that one of my friends made to me which just opened my eyes, I think, was that not everyone that you're comparing yourself to and you're comparing your walk with is actually as solid in God as you think. So when you're in church and like I've never spoken in tongues, but people are speaking in tongues and people are able to prophesize over your life, like it's actually incredible. Like I look at them and I'm just like, wow. But don't be too fazed by it, because for all you know, they're in the same position as you, and you're standing here and you're wasting your time crying over, oh, why can't I be like so and so, why can't I be like Tom, Dick and Harry or Jack and Jill, when really Jack and Jill are probably in the same boat as you. And that's not a bad thing. It's okay. We're all trying to, you know, build this life together. But just remember, like, that's why I think it's so important not to compare yourself in your walk with God, and not to compare the level that you're at. Another Bible verse I'd like to read is Philippians, I don't know if I say that right, I don't know, but yeah, chapter 3 verse 2-4. Watch out for those dogs, those people who do evil, those mutilators who say you must be circumcised to be saved. For we who worship the Spirit by the Spirit of God are the ones who are truly circumcised. We rely on what Christ Jesus has done for us. The same way that God created you uniquely, he knew that the relationship that you'd have with him would be unique. I don't think God wanted us all to, he knew that everyone's different, so he didn't expect all of us to bring the same relationship to the table. Like, I think that'd be quite boring for him if he just had the same relationship with everyone else. So I guess in that, what I'm trying to say is the same way we shouldn't compare our looks to other people's, our Instagram feeds to other people's, our makeup, our nails, whatever. All those very, Balenciagas. I only found out about Balenciagas when I came to this uni. Boys, it's not that deep. Don't compare, the same way you shouldn't compare yourself in that sense, you also shouldn't compare your walk with God to other people's. It will just like literally drive you up the wall. And it has. And so I'm doing this video. Just literally offer yourself to him. Come as you are. And you're allowed to fall in your journey. Just make sure that you are able to pick yourself up and you're surrounded by people who are able to see that in you and help you to pick yourself up. Honestly, like, if you allow things like this, if you allow something like this to fester, the anger inside you builds up so much, the frustration inside you builds up, and it affects you in so many ways that you don't even understand until you really just sit down one day and just deep it all and just like, whoa. I have another Bible verse, James chapter 1 verse 20-22. It says, human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. So get rid of all the filth and evil in your lives and humbly accept the word God has planted in your hearts. And this is the important bit. It says, because it has the power to save your souls. The energy that you're feeding into this frustration is affecting you so much it actually hurts and you don't even realize it. But it doesn't have to. You need to come to terms with it and understand that it's something that's affecting you, it's something that's pulling you back. So why feed all this energy into being frustrated and being angry, I can't get it right, when you can feed that into, I'm gonna get it right, I'm gonna get it right, I'm gonna get it right. And the last thing I think I have to say is that just remind yourself that with your walk with God, you're doing it your own way. Everyone will come in and chip in and give you their advice and whatever, but you're doing it your own way. So if you are now coming out this phase where, okay, I've finished with the sermons, I've finished with the faith books, like now I need to get real. Even if it's 10 minutes, that's better than nothing. And don't let that little voice in your head tell you, oh, 10 minutes isn't enough, like you should be spending hours, blah, blah, blah. Even if it's just a chapter, it's better that you come into contact with the word for 10 minutes rather than you haven't come into contact with them at all. And if you're anything like me and how I still can be, but was worse before, you'll be like, you're expecting yourself to read a verse and be like, wow, like, whoa, like, dang, God, like, you're trying to get hit and shots with all these messages, trying to read too deeply into it. Sometimes it's actually just what you're reading on the surface that is giving you that simple message. If you're not getting these deeper messages, who knows, like 2 days later you might do something and you'll be like, whoa, that's what that meant. So I guess all in all, what I'm trying to say is, if you're anything like me and what I've said has kind of resonated, don't dive in because it's a quick way to drown. Just take it slowly, take it day by day. Even if you have to start small and build yourself up, at least now that when you get to a point where you built yourself up, it's harder for you to fall again. So that's the end of my video. I really hope it really helps someone. I really want to have like a discussion about it too, so if you have anything to say, just like drop a comment and we can have a chat about it. Thank you again. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I have Twitter now. I think it's JustJoce. And yeah, I hope you'll have a great week and I will see you soon. Bye.